rooted into their social structure. They share. They're concerned about their fellow individual. And, you know, all of these qualities is how they have survived on Earth for thousands and thousands of years. We're dependent on electricity, and this is going to be a very rude awakening for a lot of people. So that's just my input.
Northeast Texas, you had a question, I believe, also.
Yeah, my question had to do with drinking water. It seems to me like when the people finish eating one another, they're going to need something to drink. Where's it going to come from?
Put it lightly, yeah.
I mean, the people will die of thirst in just a couple of months, you know. I mean, everybody. The people in the cities will go to the country and get their water, and then, I mean, I don't see anybody coming. Very few people coming out of it alive.
No,
but my question was this: what does the gentleman propose we do about it?
Nobody has a plan, and that's another thing I think Koppel has addressed in a big way. There is no plan, and I'm sure that the think tanks in the Department of Defense have people on it, but they're really, you know, it's such of a severe scenario that it's so massive and has such of a long reach across potentially across the entire North American continent that it's almost impossible to think of a rescue, that, you know, a way back.
How do you time? Yeah, if we cut down on the population through positive eugenics, you know, birth control and stuff like that, it still wouldn't be in time to save us from.
No, when this happens, if this happens, and Ted Koppel believes it's not a question of when or if it's going to happen. It's going to happen so suddenly, it's going to catch everybody unprepared. And if there's not a plan in place, and apparently there's not, we're all going to be in a major fix.
Yeah, well, according to my information, we've only got water enough left for the next 30 to 50 years, even if we don't have a electrical crisis or a nuclear war or whatever.
Just think about it this way. It took man millenniums. I mean, we've only had electricity for what, the last 100 and 200 years, possibly tops, right?
Right.
Then you take out every means of, say, reestablishing the technology. It doesn't exist anymore. The lights that you would read the books by don't exist anymore. The circuits that you would normally put together don't exist anymore. You're back in the Stone Age.
Exactly.
You've got almost centuries-long, millennium-long climb, that 14 billion years or more of prehistoric age to modern age, the last 200 years to figure it out again without the resources that you're used to and accustomed to. So,
Einstein said World War III would be nuclear, but World War IV would be fought with sticks and stones. You're literally saying we could easily go back to the Stone Age.
Exactly. And that's, you know, and in the case of a nuclear disaster, that's not all that far off hook, is it? I mean, to think that way, he was right in that. But the fact of the matter is, we just won't have the resources to get back. And you're right, it would be back to sticks and stones, without a doubt.
For the vast majority of people, anyway.
Right.
Yeah, because even the ammunition's going to run out at a certain point for those who do have the weapons. And, you know, the raiding and looting, they can acquire ammo for a period of time, but eventually even that runs out. And if you don't have a manufacturing process to make more,
well,
here we go.
It's all based on how much knowledge you have of the natural world. Most of the grass seeds you can eat. You know, if you know what plants to eat and that are available to you in your area, you can scavenge and basically survive. I mean, people have done it for millions of years. But people don't have that knowledge, nor are they developing that knowledge. I know some people who do and are practicing that because they see this coming. But you know, water and all those things are skills.
A new concept is electrical magnetical weapon, and I'm going to be willing to bet you maybe as many as high as 80 to maybe 90% of the American population doesn't even have a clue that it might exist. You know?
Well, we can thank you for bringing it to our attention tonight on the show, and of course we can thank Ted Koppel for bringing the whole scenario of the grid going down into popular public awareness and into public consciousness. These are things that need to be discussed, and as you say, our government isn't addressing them. Organized religion isn't addressing them, so your mass population is largely ignorant of this imminent threat. And I consider Ted Koppel to be an extremely reliable, extremely credible source. I watched him for 30 years on Nightline and everywhere else. If Ted Koppel says it can happen, I absolutely believe it can. You know, and once again, I don't doubt that it's right around the corner. And I think people need to be prepared. So I'd like to ask you, Dan, and I'd like to ask South Dakota both in the remaining few minutes we have left on our show. If you were to give advice to the average person what they can do to be prepared for what's coming, what advice would you give them?
Oh, boy. That's a tough one. You know, to start looking at the natural world around them and resources that are available to them out in nature, to become centered as a person and let go of your frivolous emotional stuff and to get spiritually centered would be critical. To be emotionally in control of yourself would be the primary thing. And then to have the wisdom to access all of the resources available to you and to get out on foot and seek them out. You know, those are the main things, to be fully aware as a person and to move forward as best you can. You know, like the other gentleman said, there's no amount of food or water you can store. It's going to run out. You're going to have to deal with the world around you, and you're going to have to seek out resources, and you're going to have to put your own emotional hang-ups aside, and you're going to have to deal with other people to get what you need. So it's really street smarts. Not something I'm good at myself, but you know, I've seen people do it. And how do homeless people live in a van and get around this country? You know, they have street smarts. Those are the skills that are going to be needed.
South Dakota, thank you very much for being on the show tonight and for your ideas. Dan, what would you say to address that question?
Now, exactly which one is this now? Rich?
Yeah.
What's the exact question again?
What advice would you give to the average person up against what could very easily be coming? What advice would you give for the average person to become prepared?
Well, you know, I liked what the thing that the last gentleman said about people living in vans that have developed street smart skills.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, surviving, you know, and it becomes when we revert to a society of cavemen, so to speak. It's going to be survival of the fittest, unfortunately. And those that are either physically stronger or mentally stronger will survive, and those that aren't won't. And that goes back to you know, some topics we've been kicking around for a while, natural selection. You know, so what will happen is those that can will, and those that can't will perish. And I think that's the bottom line. And in order to prepare for it, how do you prepare for something that devastating? I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that part.
Absolutely.
I couldn't really tell you. I think one of the things, the thing he said about, the homeless learning, the human condition, even in the concentration camps during World War II, I studied the Holocaust extensively at the University of Maryland, that in the human condition, and even the most unspeakable conditions, people adapt and adjust for some reason.
Some people rise above their circumstances. You may be familiar with Viktor Frankl, with his books about logotherapy. As you know, he was in Auschwitz. He was a concentration camp prisoner, and he developed logotherapy. I recommend his book strongly, Viktor Frankl. He's one of the survivors, and he saw people go through the tremendous suffering, and some people survived mentally and spiritually more intact than others. And what's ahead, I think we're going to see the same thing. Well, the mental strength is going to be key for many, many people.
And I think that's probably one of the best examples that we could give is those people that survived. It wasn't called a Holocaust for no good reason, and what's coming up is not called a Holocaust for no good reason. But here we see history shows us that human beings can survive a Holocaust. So go figure. I think that's my last idea on this. Yes, the human condition is God has programmed you to survive even the most worst of circumstances. And some will and some won't use those God-given tools. And that will be the deciding factor in who lives and who dies, or whether the race itself staves off extinction altogether.
That's a great closing thought. Dan Patrick, I want to thank you for being on tonight. South Dakota, I want to thank you for your input. And to everyone out there, hang in there and make it the best 2016 you can. Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, Rich. Good talking to you. Good night.
Thank you.